Hello everyone, you're watching Profit Show. My name is Maxishenka, and today we have a really special guest in Kiev.
It's the train.
It's a train, yeah. And not only train, there's more.
It's Max.
Yeah, again. Well, I'm often in Kiev.
Okay.
You're a real troll, right?
I'm Norwegian, half Norwegian.
Half Norwegian, half troll.
No, Norwegian means troll. Norwegians invented the trolls. So yeah.
This is Peter Sunde, right?
Yep.
The creator of the Pirate Bay.
One of them.
Yeah. One of them.
Yeah.
One of the creators of Flattr.
Yes.
And a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yes. Lots of smaller and bigger stuff as well. Yeah.
And bigger stuff. I'm really glad you made it to our Kiev event.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here as well.
Yeah. So there is like this huge topic, the Pirate Bay. But before we go into that, do you consider yourself entrepreneur, like pirate? Who are you? How do you define your role?
I've been struggling with this question quite a long while, and I think I'm like somewhere between a slacker, activist, and idea person. So I have lots of ideas, and I'm very active, like societal ideas and so on. I don't like to call myself an entrepreneur, because that's someone who builds houses in my world.
In Norwegian?
No, in Scandinavia, an entrepreneur, or I think in English, entrepreneur used to be the people that build your house.
Okay.
So, that comes from the French word or something, I guess. But I've been growing up and hearing an entrepreneur is the guy who takes care of building houses. So for me, it's kind of silly seeing the word entrepreneur becoming like the word for destroying unions and so on, which is part of it, unfortunately. You don't like the idea of making money, or? I have no problem with people making money, but I have a problem with people making money, not sharing them or not paying taxes on them, and using them the wrong way. Keeping them for themselves without adding to society and community and so on.
Yeah, but the Pirate Bay, is it it's your social thing, or what is it? It's not a business, right? Or
no, it's never been a business. So Pirate Bay has always been, for me, something which is important for society. It's a community of people that need to share some sort of information. And it's just a technical platform for that to happen, and basically that's it. And the thing that happens is that you allow people to share things, that then things happen because of that. And that's why I like the Pirate Bay, because there's no set rules what you can and cannot share. It's like, as long as it's legal material, you can share it, and everyone else has to build on top of that and do whatever they want. So from Pirate Bay, we've always been basically 3 people in the core of the group, and none of us have the same political views in anything, which is kind of showing that it's a very basic thing that we agree on, even though we have different political views, which I like.
The basic thing is allow people to share stuff?
Yes.
That's the basic, right?
Yeah.
And what's your political views?
I'm very left-wing.
Left-wing?
Yes. I would call myself like a socialist, at least.
Do you you mean left like Lenin, or not that left?
I think that just as every political view, everything has to adapt to the current societies. I don't think there is, a certain type of socialism or a certain type of capitalism, and that is very easily defined how it works today. So I would just call myself some sort of modern socialist, and we'll see who kind of defines that in the future.
Okay, well, let's move on.
Because you don't want to talk about socialism, right?
I actually hate socialism, but
yeah, I know.
We don't have to talk about this right now. I mean,
we should.
We should. Okay.
And also vegetarianism, but that's a different thing.
That's a different topic. Yeah. But still, so I think in many, I want a simple question. What do you do now? Because the Pirate Bay is such a huge thing that, whatever you do now, you're still known as Pirate Bay, one of the founders.
Yeah, right? I think that will always be the case.
Yeah. So what do you actually do?
Well, I talk a lot about politics, mostly
you mean
about
talks.
Well, I go to a lot of conferences. I go to a lot of events, and I do a lot of activist stuff. I work on a lot of internet activism, that I help with building VPN systems and Tor nodes and everything for people that are in Iran and Syria and all of these countries. I talk about it quite a lot. I go on trips and help people with this. So
you've been invited by whom exactly?
Sometimes by government, sometimes by organizations. And it's very different depending on what type of thing it is.
I thought like you would be like a person non grata for most governments. No?
No, I think the only government that doesn't really like me is the US and the Swedish government. And the Swedish government has to hate me because otherwise the US will stop trading with Sweden. But I'm friends with people in governments in many other countries, and they invite me to things and so on.
But
so.
you can go to US, right?
Probably not. Well, I can probably go, but I can't leave.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because you will be kind of busy.
I will be busy in lawsuits and so on. Yeah.
Orange suit.
Well, yeah, they would probably consider copyright infringements, which it actually isn't. They would probably consider that worse than killing someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the Flattr thing? I thought you were like working on that, no? I mean, I read recently that you like raised money.
Yeah, we raised a Series A round, and we're using that money and employing people and trying to develop the system and get more partners and so on.
So, but you're not very involved in this as well.
Well, I'm on the advisory board and I'm working with it. But then what I do is usually I travel quite a lot. And when I travel, I talk about Flattr, I talk about piracy, I talk about the internet and democratization, and I go with the flow kind of.
Okay. Let's dig into this. I know I've seen it was actually an article by Paul Graham. About like killing Hollywood.
From Paul?
From Paul Graham, the Y Combinator.
Okay, yeah.
He wrote an article about how the startups but there is an opportunity to like kill Hollywood.
Yeah.
And, like, to do something with media that will be like much better because there is no way they will change. So it must be disrupted from outside. So what do you think?
Well, I think Hollywood is a very interesting concept. So if you look at how Hollywood was started, I don't know if you know the story.
Well, I know, but I will pretend I know, but
Okay, so there's this small story about why Hollywood was founded where it is. It's because Thomas Edison invented like the moving images.
It's a patent, right? He
patented it. So the people that wanted to make movies in New York on the East Coast, they decided, well, essentially we have to pay so much money to Edison, we have to move somewhere. Yeah, so they moved to the West Coast where either there was no patents or there was no one caring about it if they infringed on them.
No enforcement.
Yeah, so essentially they were the first big movie pirates, was the Hollywood studios, and they went there because they could just ignore all of the copyright and patents and also. So they could copy all of the old stories, and Disney could, do Fantasia and all of these, which are adaptations of other people's stories and so on. So all of that was pirated. And now Hollywood and they were complaining that, they had to infringe on patents because otherwise there would be no culture and so on. And today they are so big that they're saying that people are not allowed to infringe on our licenses, otherwise
exactly
because
on the other side of the same story.
They're using, the arguments they had against that are not valid anymore because they are now in that seat. So the problem is, if you get big enough, you start controlling everything. And Hollywood is at that point where everyone, they're so big, they have so much power and so much influence that, of course, they're not going to give it away for free. So someone has to kill that industry or just make something which will kill the industry. So that's the only way we can go. If we want to preserve culture and if we want to have some sort of innovation in art and culture, in movies, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, Hollywood has to go because they are blocking everything, because they decide everything. And it's like 3-4 companies that own everything.
You mean in Hollywood? Like the majors?
Yeah, the major companies are the ones deciding. Like if you don't agree with them or they don't agree with you, you're not part of it anymore. Then you have to be indie and then you're not going to do anything and,
Okay, so how it's going to work?
Well, I think that if you look at the music industry, they kind of sold this already.
Like, you mean iTunes?
No, I don't mean iTunes. That's not the music industry. Like people, the record industry is becoming smaller and smaller, but the music industry is growing. So the record industry like calling themselves the music industry because then they sound bigger. Because the record industry is shrinking within the music industry, but the music industry is growing because there's more artists, there's more gigs, all of that.
In terms of
numbers, all sales, revenue, whatever you want to call it.
Grows because
you don't have to be part of the record companies anymore. You don't have to go to them. You can go directly to your customers. You can market directly to customers or fans, whatever you want to call it, and you can go on more tours. because of information with the internet, you know, there will be more fans, and you will have an easier way of finding them. So there's new opportunities, and the record companies will never allow you to do this because they want to, you know, control that.
The channel as well.
And the same thing goes for Hollywood, that they are now in control of the channels and they're not going to open them up, even though there's better tools, there's new technologies available. So if you look at films like Star Trek and all of the follow-up Iron Sky, which is like somewhat crowdfunded, and it's really good scripts and it's really funny stories about Nazis on Moon.
Iron Sky?
Iron Sky. It's a Finnish movie which is coming out. I think it might be released like any day right now.
Okay.
Which is people that are really interested in movies, they're doing it a different way. They're crowdfunding, they're crowdsourcing the script, all of these things which are really, really interesting for culture and also for entertainment, because it will be a different experience. Because you don't want to see the same shit all over and again. Because right now you have, you know, the things that sells the most is like the newest Harry Potter movie. Because, you know, there's always blah, 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 movie 6 or 7. It's always the follow-ups. And that's not very interesting for entertainment or culture or anything.
But they keep selling, right?
Of course, because they're only pushing for that. Because they're saying, like, now our industry is dying, so we can only go with the safe cards. So they know that Harry Potter sold, so let's do Harry Potter 2. They know that Finding Nemo sells, so let's do Finding Nemo 2. This is their way of thinking. Instead of trying new things, they go for the safe bet.
Oh, because they also don't feel like they need to innovate.
No, they don't need to innovate. That's one of the problems.
They don't have this pressure.
No, so for them the current situation is good, because they control and they don't have to innovate, because innovation costs time, money, energy, and also means that if you can't do it, if you don't have the ideas, you're going to be, you know, not interesting.
So what will be what are the new players that can disrupt this? Do you mean like project like Kickstarter, or where you?
Kickstarter is part of it, but the thing is that everyone's always talking about which is the solution, what's the new thing. But the new thing is everything. It's having lots of things. It's having lots of revenue streams. It's having lots of, you know, channels for everything. And it might be a bit annoying. It might be very hard coordinating all of it. But that's kind of what the internet is. It's coordinating lots of streams of data.
Yeah, and eventually there are, like on the internet, there are things that simplify for you how to put everything together.
Yeah, and I think that's what you have to understand, that there will not be a solution. There will be lots of solutions, and they will be focused for different crowds or different types of people, and you have to use all of them, or most of them at least.
So the Flattr, keep thinking about it. Does it fit into this?
Yeah, Flattr is a part of.
Is this a different story?
No, Flattr is definitely part of this new financial ecosystem, but also like the quality ecosystem. Because the thing that happens when you have the internet is that you don't have like this filter of quality anymore. So usually when you have the record companies, when you have the movie companies,
it's part of their value, right? What they're telling us, right?
Yes.
We help you like filter out the bad stuff.
And they usually are not too bad at it. At the same time, it's easier for them to just push out things they know will sell instead of trying something new. But the internet helps you do that. Like if you have a band that plays a different type of music, record company says, this is too scary. We don't understand this, so we're not going to release it. But you can release it on the internet. And finding that stuff has to be some sort of filter, so you will, you know, find exactly that, and that's interesting enough. So Flattr is helping you doing that at the same time as making money.
Really? I thought it was how it helps me find stuff.
But it's both, because
well,
like
what is it like for some of the users who still don't use it?
Yeah, so Flattr basically is, to be very simple and unfair to the system, it's the Facebook like button, but you pay a monthly fee and everything you like will get a share of your money in the end of the month. So let's say you share €2 per month, you click 10 buttons, they will get a tenth each of the money that you put into the system. So it's like when you click the Flattr button, you know that this will be something you will give money to. You don't know the sum until the end of the month. But it turns out that people click only things that has a little bit of higher value than Cute Cat. Cute Cat you will like, but you wouldn't pay money for it. So it turns it into a quality filter, much more than the like button. So you have this filter and categories and all of that as well.
So do you actually have a interface where I can go and see the trending or popular stuff?
Yeah, so there's a catalog on Flattr which you can go to, and you will see like the podcasts that are highly flattered, blog posts, photos, videos and stuff as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is something we miss on the internet, because we have so much data and it's really hard to filter it out. Because
I think it was you, right, who said that the record companies had to pay us to listen to the music.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, because you know that's kind of one of the things that we never question is like, so you know the price of everything goes down,
Okay.
and in the end, music is so cheap now it's basically free, and that means that in the end, something which is free will turn into actually being negative cost. So I would say like if I spend money on or I spend time on doing something which is somewhat beneficial to someone else, I should be paid for it. That should be the way we look at it. So if I listen to a track and I don't like it, you should pay me for it. And if I like it, maybe you should pay me as well because I'm now a new customer.
Okay,
Yeah, because normally
but you're also like, the whole point of listening to music, you get some value, right?
yeah, but it doesn't mean you have to get value from it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it actually gives you value. It gives you some sort of value if you like it, maybe, and if you don't like it, you spend time on it, and why shouldn't you get paid for it? Because you're now going directly to the customer, instead of paying some, you know, PR firm to go out and campaign, you know, essentially that money could go directly to the listener instead. For instance. But I think that we should look at it, we should question why we're supposed to pay for things. We should say, well, my time is more valuable than this song. So you have to pay for me to listen to it.
Okay.
That is a different way to look at it, which we should think about.
Okay. I have some other subjects I wanted to touch so briefly. So we are here today. There's Garage 48 event, and actually when we first met, it was Startup Weekend event. So do you like often go to events like that? And what?
Not very often, but I go sometimes.
Why?
I think it's interesting to talk to people that have ideas and want to do something, and it's also a great way to meet interesting people, and it's interesting places to go to sometimes, like Kazakhstan or
Kiev.
Yeah, it's really interesting for me. So that's good, and at the same time, I can also, you know, these people that are come up with ideas and have ideas, I also want them to listen. You know, if they want to listen to me, that's amazing. So then I can tell them like, why are you doing like this way? Why don't you add like social values? You know, and things that are important to me as well. Because I think that the new society is about, you know, entrepreneurs and all of that. I don't really like it, but that's part of the whole idea that entrepreneurs is going to build a new world. I don't think we shouldn't just
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, I'm not into the whole super libertarian movement, you know, that we need no government. I think we need governments, and I think we need some sort of, you know, basic needs and help for everyone. Going back to the politics.
The thing is why I'm so big into startups, because the startup is is opposite of the big companies. When you're working in a big company, you're like a really small part, and basically your free will is very squeezed out.
Yeah, I agree to that.
And a startup is a way where you can actually make meaningful things. So.
The problem is that most startups don't do meaningful things. They do things to make money. That is a problem. And also, I see the startup movement, which is, in essence, I like it. It's new ideas, it's innovation. All of that is fine. But I see also that is being misused. It's being abused by other people that says, well, I don't want the government to be powerful and so on, and I don't like unions. So let's say that everyone is now an entrepreneur. So if you want to clean my house, you're an entrepreneur. You don't work for the cleaning company, you're your own company.
Like contractor.
Yeah, so everyone's a contractor nowadays. Everyone's an entrepreneur, which means that unions can't form against, you know, their boss anymore, because you are your own boss.
So what's wrong with this?
This is a really bad situation because people don't have security in their life anymore. There's no people taking responsibility.
But there might emerge like things that like help to coordinate this stuff, like on the internet. Like there's a lot of disparate things, but then something appears that helps it, like ties it all together.
But why do you have to have your own company for everything you do? Why do every single person have to be a company? Why can't you have employees anymore?
Actually, I don't like. From what I see, most people don't want to be like their own boss.
No, but most people are now being kind of, at least in Western Europe and in Western countries, it's more about like everyone being an entrepreneur and everyone being their own boss. It's what's being pitched. And the idea is mostly from the politicians that if they're their own boss, there is no more unemployment because everyone's their own company. So you will have 0% unemployment, and you don't have the unions that have any power over the companies anymore because everyone's a company. So there is this movement of startups is also being abused for other political motives.
But I thought for politicians it's actually very bad, because when you have like big companies, big structures, like big unions, whatever. And then it's much easier to like have like deals on the table with each entity instead of trying to like talk with hundreds of thousands.
But you don't talk to them, because if they're so small, you don't have to talk to them. You can just ignore them, right?
But they are still voters.
Yeah, but they, you know, they will not vote for anyone anymore. That's going to be the end, because everyone's falling for this lie.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So.
Do you usually talk this much about politics on your show?
Oh well, actually no. Usually I talk about the startups, like painful things that you learn, because usually the most stuff you learn when you did something very, very wrong. So yeah. By the way, but can you share with us something that like really taught you something and was painful?
Oh, well, I think I learn things every day, and there's always painful things. Painful things is like firing the first person.
What?
When you fire your first person from your company, that is painful. But it's also very helpful and useful. So I think learning that you shouldn't be scared of doing it if it's the wrong person, that's probably the most helpful thing I've learned. But it's a broad question, you know.
Well, usually we talk about like specific companies that people build, right? So I don't know. I'm trying to avoid the Pirate Bay topic, because I think you're pretty tired of talking about it. Like, with every.
There's not much to say about it. That's the thing. It's there, and it's. Well, Pirate Bay is Pirate Bay. It has its own life. It's growing. It's what it is. There's not much to learn from it.
But it somehow gets started, right?
Yeah.
And there are like 100 other torrent sites.
Yeah, the big reason why Pirate Bay was become big was because there were stupid people behind it that wasn't scared. And if it's good or bad, I don't really know. But the reason why Pirate Bay grew was because
the other got scared.
What?
The reason because the other torrent sites were like scared and just
of lawyers. Yeah. So you got a letter from a lawyer saying we're going to sue you, shut down, or we're going to sue you, and everyone else shut down. The Pirate Bay didn't. That's the only. Because the law is on the right side here. The law is for the Pirate Bay, that what the Pirate Bay does is not illegal, and that was very clear in the law in Sweden. So there was no reason to be scared of them.
But you still had the process in Sweden, right?
Yeah, and the problem is there is corruption again, because all of a sudden there was this government. There is a long story, but the US government, the White House invited the Swedish Minister of Justice to come to the White House and have a talk to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Culture and Hollywood, saying that we're going to do a trade sanction against Sweden if you don't shut down the Pirate Bay. And then they came back to Sweden and decided, like, we have to do something, otherwise there's going to be a trade sanction. That was illegal in Sweden, of course, to say to the police whom they should target from politicians. They still did. There was a case, and the police officer in the case that did all of the investigation happened to get a job with Warner Brothers during the investigation. The judge in the case also happened to be the chairman of the Pro-Copyright Society of Sweden. All of these things, which are really, really corrupt. Mm-hmm. So even though you're right, what I can tell you, even though you're right when it comes to things, doesn't mean you will be awarded your rights in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, we can talk more, like hours, but we have to
cut
to format, right?
Yeah.
Well, anything else you wanted to talk about, or like share something?
Vegetarianism. We should talk about this, but that's also another show, I think.
No, just briefly. What the hell? What's wrong with eating meat?
Can I eat you?
You can try.
No, would you allow me to kill you and eat you?
No.
No, so why is that allowed to someone who you can't talk to?
The philosophic, because I'm asking because some of my friends who are trying to do vegan, they're doing that not because of this thing, just because they're saying it's more healthy, like Steve Jobs did it, then it must be a right thing. Like
no, if Steve Jobs did it, it's actually, well, there's two bad vegetarians. It's Steve Jobs and Hitler, and they're quite bad together, but otherwise vegetarians are nice.
You don't like Apple or Steve Jobs in particular?
I like apples, but I don't like Steve Jobs.
Okay. So, okay, I got it. I got your point with vegetarians.
No, but actually, it's a very interesting thing. There's many reasons why you become vegetarian or vegan. I have an acquaintance, and he's vegan because he hates animals. hates the taste of them, he hates the smell of them, hates everything. And I'm happy that he's a vegan, whatever reason there is.
Yeah.
So.
And you do it because you actually like the
animals.
Animals.
Yeah, I like animals. I don't like the taste of them.
Them get killed.
No, I think we don't have the right to abuse living creatures just, because we don't question why we do it. Because basically, if you are eating animals, you're doing it mostly because you haven't questioned what it means to eat someone else. And at least cannibals are, going towards a species who have the same strength as them. We're just abusing, cows and such because it's easy for us to kill them. And that's not an excuse to kill someone.
But what about the argument that, for thousands of years, it was like our basic nutrition diet?
Yeah.
So, you kind of depend on it?
So when you meet a girl, do you also hit her on the head and pull her back to your cave?
Interesting.
Do you? There's no answer from you, which scares me. No, but things change, and I think that this generation of people do not need to eat meat. Actually, it's harmful to us to eat meat because we're eating so much meat as a community that we're getting fatter, we're getting worse shape. All of this, we're getting too much salt in our diets. So I think eating healthier is good for us.
Okay. Then now I have another topic. What about the Green Star movement and that we have, for instance, we would better off using electricity from clean sources instead of burning whatever oil and so on.
So you like coal energy?
Well, I don't mind nuclear energy.
Okay, why not?
I think it's.
I'm thinking we're in Kyiv.
Clear.
It's what is it? An hour from Chernobyl?
2 hours.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. That's an interesting topic. So you haven't had any pain for the nuclear energy growing up? People around you had cancer and died, stuff like that?
Well, I think it's still much better than the alternatives.
And what is the alternative?
The coal.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an alternative because solar panels, wind, sea, it works. Over half of the energy in sunny Germany is from solar power. And you don't think about the place to go on a vacation, Germany, for the sun, right?
Well, yeah. We don't think about Germany as a place to go.
No, exactly. But still, sunny Germany have over half of their energy from solar panels. So it works. It's just that there has to be the will to implement it.
But it's probably it might be more expensive to install some. I mean, you have to produce these panels, right?
Yeah.
You have to ship them, and so on. So
I know there is a total cost, but it's still beneficial to environment. You can calculate all of these costs, which is
that they might be actually higher than simply using the organic fuel or energy.
No, but if something is renewable, it's renewable. Sun is renewable. That means if you build the solar panels, it will be a one cost for the environment. Yeah, and then you can calculate. It's very easy. It's very hard with nuclear energy saying how much it will affect the Earth because you can't really calculate. We're going to be 10% of Chernobyl. It's going to be 20% of Fukushima. It's impossible. So then it's a safer bet to go with solar and wind and sea energy, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we talked about everything except the startups and businesses, but
you have to think about all of these things.
Yeah, I will.
So if you're a startup, you can actually say that, oh, my company is only going to be using energy from solar energy or renewable energy. That's a good thing for startups.
And instead of doing another social thing, I would rather do clean energy startup.
You can do both.
What do you mean?
You can do clean energy and social things about clean energy, But I think that one of the important things with a startup is that you can take care of the environment, you can be responsible to your community, because the bigger companies are not going to be there. They're not interested because they're only for the profit margin because they have the shareholders who don't care about anything but profits. So that's one of the good things, that you can be more ethical and you can be more...
Smaller.
When you're smaller, you can decide morals and ethics in your company. So Flattr is a vegetarian company. We don't allow the company to spend money on non-vegetarian stuff.
Do you have every employee have to be vegetarian?
No, but it means that if we treat you to lunch, we can only pay for your lunch if you take the vegetarian option.
Okay.
Which means that people want the free lunch and they will take the vegetarian option, so we save animals.
So interesting. So you actually using money to change people's behaviors, to influence them.
Yeah. And that's something the startups can do as well, because if you can make that into a cool thing, or you can prove that this is a point and you do follow it, other people will follow you as well, which is good.
Cool. I think we'll end on this note, and it was a pleasure to see you here in Kiev, and maybe talk to you sometime.
Yeah, I'll see you
time.
again soon. Thank you.